What's up, Robin?
Oh my God, I'm not. I got a few more things. I'm gonna blur my camera out and start. I'll go ahead and.
Okay. All right.
Well, we ain't live yet, are we?
Yes, we are.
Are we live yet?
Yes, we are live.
Oh.
You go ahead and
don't even say that on my thing.
Do what you got here.
I'll
do this.
You always say you're live.
I'll do this. Okay. And you go ahead. Just your audio's still on. Remember that, okay? All right.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I call this show Politicality. We talk about political news, things going on in the political world. We try to have a little bit of fun with it, and we always welcome ideas from either, people who agree with us, or if you don't, come tell us why you don't agree with us. I'd be glad to have you either way. Miss Robin Webster is joining me today. As always, she'll be here in a moment, and we'll get on talking. We're going to go over parts of the debate last night, not the whole thing. I need to adjust my camera real quick. Sorry, guys. Had a couple things out of place here. It isn't going to let me do it. Huh. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right, that should work a little bit better now. My video was stuttering and skipping around a little bit, but oh, you got a notification this time. All right. Well, hey, Deviant Outcast and Pinworm and Trees, Spooky. It's good to see everybody here. Did everybody watch the debate last night? If you didn't, don't worry. We're going to go over the important parts of it today. But before we get into everything, I'll go ahead and do this real quick. Thanks to everybody that supports the channel by being a channel member. I truly appreciate it. We have membership starting at 99 cents. Just click the join button down there, and you can be a member too. I try to do members content every week. I don't think I've missed a week in a while. Instead of doing a show Sunday, I did a members show. And then also, we've got Patreon, wherever it's at. I've got a thing for my Patreon members. We had to add another one, so I know it's here. Here we go. Patreon members. Greg, Robin, Quinn, Ray, Regios, Dave, and Narrative Dude just joined. Over on Patreon, I put a lot of extra stuff that I don't put on the channel here, stuff that you can only see over there. So if you want, check it out. If not, I understand. All right. I watched today and bridged the debate. Yeah.
I ain't got my glasses on. I can't see.
They covered the debate live last night. I watched up until the debate started. I had to turn it off once the debate started because I wanted to watch it and take notes for today's show and be ready and have a decent idea of what I was talking about today whenever we looked at it. I cut out a couple parts. It's still like an hour long, and we may not get through all of it. But if we start not moving very fast or whatever, I'll skip to the good parts where they talk about there, because there's a few things I want to talk about.
I'm ready, John.
They discussed gun control and what do you want? You want squares or circles, Robin? Trump for prison.
I'm always square.
Yeah.
Trump for prison.
Yeah. Well, I think he's going to win that prize.
No, if I wish. I've been praying every day.
Has anybody noticed that I'm less a beard? First time I've shaved my face in many years. I feel kind of weird.
You sent my the picture. So I got Clipper happy. Do the circles. What do we look like in circles? Can you swap it back and forth?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I don't like that. No.
Now, for whenever we watch the video, I've got it like, oh, no, not like that, like this for the video. But I put the rounded corners. Huh?
I just want to say that we lost Chris Christopherson this week, and we lost Pete Rose, who never got to be in the Hall of Fame.
Pete Rose was in prison about a mile from my house.
Pete Rose, when I was a kid, we used to go to Cincinnati and watch the Big Red Machine play. And I was a Johnny Bench fan, but Pete Rose, I loved him too, but I was Johnny Bench. I wrote like 5 years in a row, I wrote my book report on Johnny Bench.
Yeah.
He broke his thumb like 5 times catching. I used to could tell you anything about Johnny Bench that was going on, but I loved him.
Back in the day, we used to go steal cases of baseball cards and pull all the King Griffeys and Pete Roses and a couple others. Those were the only ones worth any money. And but you could take like 5 or 6 cards and go get enough money for supplies, you know. But
I've still got my little like we used to go to games, and if you got there and get before the game, you know, they, like the first 20,000 people that come in, they would yes, Johnny Bench was the best catcher ever. You're right. When you would get to the game, if you got there like the first so many, you got this little Louisville Slugger bat, and I've still got mine, and it's got Johnny Bench's signature on it. Like it's a little slugger. It's, you know, it's a small Louisville Slugger. Like it's very old, 50 years old, I guess, almost
for you. All right. Hey, Beamsy and Big Bad Mama and John. I think I've said hi. Trusty Ape, how you doing? Thanks for coming, everybody. All right, so let's go ahead and just jump right into this debate. What do you say? And if you need me to pause for something, Robin, just say pause or you know, wait. Do we need a safe word? Pineapple. Just say pineapple.
No, I ain't saying pineapple. What about Rose? Pete Rose.
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 Okay. Whatever you want it to be. All right. Here we go.
Today, Iran launched its largest attack yet on Israel, but that attack failed thanks to joint U.S. and Israeli defensive action. President Biden has deployed more than 40,000 U.S. military personnel and assets to that region over the past year to try to prevent a regional war. Iran is weakened, but the U.S. still considers it the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, and it has drastically reduced the time it would take to develop a nuclear weapon. It is down now to 1 or 2 weeks' time. Governor Walz, if you are the final voice in the Situation Room, would you support or oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you. And thank you for those joining home tonight. Let's keep in mind where this started. October 7th, Hamas terrorists massacred over 1,400 Israelis and took prisoners. Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental. Getting its hostages back, fundamental, and ending the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But the expansion of Israel and its proxies is an absolute fundamental necessity for the United States to have the steady leadership there. You saw it experienced today, where along with our Israeli partners and our coalition, able to stop the incoming attack. But what's fundamental here is that steady leadership is going to matter. It's clear, and the world saw it on that debate stage a few weeks ago. A nearly 80-year-old Donald Trump talking about crowd sizes is not what we need in this moment. But it's not just that. It's those that were closest to Donald Trump that understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous. His chief of staff, John Kelly, said that he was the most flawed human being he'd ever met. And both of his secretaries of defense and his national security advisors said he should be nowhere near the White House. Now, the person closest to them, Donald Trump, said he's unfit for the highest office. That was Senator Vance. What we've seen out of Vice President Harris is we've seen steady leadership. We've seen a calmness that is able to draw on the coalitions to bring them together, understanding that our allies matter. When our allies see Donald Trump turn towards Vladimir Putin, turn towards North Korea, when we start to see that type of fickleness around holding the coalitions together, we will stay committed. And as the Vice President said today we will protect our forces and our allied forces, and there will be consequences.
Governor, your time is up. Senator Vance, the same question. Would you support or oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? You have 2 minutes.
So, Margaret, I want to answer the question. First of all, thanks, Governor. Thanks to CBS for hosting the debate. And thanks, most importantly, to the American people who are watching this evening and caring enough about this country to pay attention to this vice presidential debate. I want to answer the question, but I want to actually give an introduction to myself a little bit because I recognize a lot of Americans don't know who either one of us are. I was raised in a working class family. My mother required food assistance for periods of her life. My grandmother required Social Security help to raise me, and she raised me in part because my own mother struggled with addiction for a big chunk of my early life. I went to college on the GI Bill after I enlisted in the Marine Corps and served in Iraq. And so I stand here asking to be your vice president with extraordinary gratitude for this country, for the American dream that made it possible for me to live my dreams. And most importantly, I know that a lot of you are worried about the chaos in the world and the feeling that the American dream is unattainable. I want to try to convince you tonight over the next 90 minutes that if we get better leadership in the White House, if we get Donald Trump back in the White House, the American dream is going to be attainable once again. Now, to answer this particular question, we have to remember that as much as Governor Walz just accused Donald Trump of being an agent of chaos, Donald Trump actually delivered stability in the world, and he did it by establishing.
So for everybody commenting in the comments that nobody's answering the question, it seems to be in debates, they need to give these guys an intro, because what they do is they try to make some kind of intro out of the first question and they don't answer it. JD Vance actually started out with saying,
it's like it.
Yeah. He said, let me answer this question for you, and then didn't answer it at all.
It's like asking a theist a question. You know what I mean? They're not going to answer the question you ask. They might answer you with another question. They might answer you with something completely off topic. They might answer you with word salad, but they'll never answer the question that you asked them directly. I saw where Maya said the couch fucker.
yeah, that was funny. Aunt Jer, the title of the stream is Politicality VP Debate Discussion featuring Robin Webster.
I don't know what I couldn't see what I was writing when I put a title in there. I didn't see my keyboard because I didn't have my light on yet, and so I don't tell them what I put on there. No, I'm not thinking of Jill Stein. No, I'm definitely not voting for Jill Stein. Any vote that is not for Kamala Harris is for Donald Trump. There's two options. There is no protest voting that needs to be happening this year. We either save the world or we don't. That's just pretty much it right there. We either elect Trump or we don't. You know what I mean? I just don't. I'm sorry. It's your vote, but I have no time for no third party voting because it's just no time to. We have too much at stake. No, they're not the same. Yeah. No, where's there? One has Donald Trump and the other doesn't. There's a difference.
Right.
Yeah. So but Walz was nervous. He started out very nervous.
You could hear his voice shaking and stuff. Yeah.
He doesn't have, I knew he said the day before that he was nervous because, first of all, he doesn't have as much TV experience, as much national experience. He's got that governor, but he's used to talking to his Minnesota people pretty much.
Yeah.
And, but he was really worried that he was going to mess up and do something that was going to harm Kamala's chances. And, that's just, that's good of him because that's how much that's how worried he is about our country, is that he's worried enough to be nervous in this debate. There's a lot at stake on this election. A lot.
Yeah. Well, we're going to let them continue not to answer the question here for a minute, and we'll get into the next one. But I really wanted to just point out, why don't they give them intros in these debates? Because that's why this happens.
I don't know. She just went straight into questions.
Well, that's what they did on the
Yeah.
presidential debate too. They just, and so they both gave an intro rather than answering the question. I mean,
Actually,
they
I
danced around.
thought the ladies
Nobody
did
wants
pretty
to
good,
say though. Oh yeah, nobody wants to say though, hey, I'm going to support a first strike under any conditions.
They had to cut their mics though. That was funny.
Yeah.
Establishing effective deterrence. People were afraid of stepping out of line. Iran, which launched this attack, has received over $100 billion in unfrozen assets thanks to the Kamala Harris administration. What do they use that money for? They use it to buy weapons that they're now launching against our allies and, God forbid, potentially launching against the United States as well. Donald Trump recognized that for people to fear the United States, you needed peace through strength. They needed to recognize that if they got out of line, the United States global leadership would put stability and peace back in the world. Now, you asked about a preemptive strike, Margaret, and I want to answer the question. Look, it is up to Israel what they think they need to do to keep their country safe, and we should support our allies wherever they are when they're fighting the bad guys. I think that's the right approach to take with the Israel question.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Walz, do you
two lies right there?
Yeah.
First of all, that money. You know, that's you know, they act like that they just got handed a bunch of cash. You know what I mean? And it was for humanitarian aid, and it was, you know what I mean, there was a whole bunch of deal. It was their money, and we had just confiscated it, like took it. You know what I mean? We had frozen their assets.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was their money. It wasn't ours. It was theirs anyway. And then nobody was scared of Donald Trump. Nobody was scared of Donald Trump, except for Americans were the only people who were scared of Donald Trump, because no foreign nationals were.
Yeah.
Because all you had to do was just tell him how wonderful all you had to do is tell him how wonderful he was, and he was the best, and all this stuff. And, you know what I mean? He would have let you look at, you know, the nuclear codes.
Well, I mean, you don't have a lot of trouble when you're buddies with the enemy. when you're kissing the ass of all of our enemies.
If you're not buddies with him, all you gotta do is butter him up, and you can be buddies, even if you're not already.
Yeah.
And if you're a dictator, he likes you better.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
to respond to any of the allegations?
Well, look, Donald Trump was in office. We'll sometimes hear a revisionist history, but when Donald Trump was in office, it was Donald Trump who we had a coalition of nations that had boxed Iran's nuclear program in, the inability to advance it. Donald Trump pulled that program and put nothing else in its place. So Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon than they were before because of Donald Trump's fickle leadership. And when Iran shot down an American aircraft in international airspace, Donald Trump tweeted, because that's the standard diplomacy of Donald Trump. And when Iranian missiles did fall near U.S. troops and they received traumatic brain injuries, Donald Trump wrote it off as headaches. Look, our allies understand that Donald Trump is fickle. He will go to whoever has the most flattery or where it makes sense to him. Steady leadership like you witnessed today, like you witnessed in April. Both Iranian attacks were repelled. Our coalition is strong, and we need the steady leadership that Kamala Harris is providing.
Senator Vance, the U.S. did have a diplomatic deal with Iran to temporarily pause parts of its nuclear program, and President Trump did exit that deal. He recently...
Oh, shit. Now what, bitch? Like, I think
mean, that was stupid.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I never did understand why Trump did this right here. We had negotiated with Iran to where we got to inspect their facilities, their nuclear facilities. So we could, you know, because there's a difference in the what is it? You put in the nuclear, the uranium or whatever. There's a difference
enriched uranium.
Yeah. There's a difference in what you put in a weapons grade and what you put in for energy, for power.
You got to have special
electricity.
centrifuges. You got to have special centrifuges.
I don't know all the different. I don't know all the difference, but I know the difference. So we can tell if they're making weapons grade or not, right?
Yes,
and we had it to where we was allowed to at least inspect. And I'm sure they could have made the things underground somewhere or whatever, but at least we were getting to go into their places and look.
Yeah,
which is pretty good.
Well, we were holding a lot over their head if they got caught doing it, so they had an incentive not to. But the problem with all this is that Donald Trump pulled us out of that agreement and now is saying we need an agreement with Iran. And it's like, well, we had one. You screwed it up, and then to point and say the vice president isn't the one that fixed it is just stupid. But whatever.
He said just 5 days ago, the U.S. must now make a diplomatic deal with Iran because the consequences are impossible. Did he make a mistake? You have 1 minute.
Well, first of all, Margaret, diplomacy is not a dirty word, but I think that's something that Governor Walz just said is quite extraordinary. You yourself just said Iran is as close to a nuclear weapon today as they have ever been. And Governor Walz, you blame Donald Trump. Who has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years? And the answer is your running mate, not mine. Donald Trump consistently made the world more secure. Now, we talk about what the sequence of events that led us to where we are right now. And you can't ignore.
Okay, let's just think about the amount of bullshit that just went into that statement. The world was significantly more secure. I can't think of a more false statement in the world that you could say. I mean, you know, the United States, we had a COVID outbreak, and we had all this political violence that went up, but crime was up under Trump. We had,
January 6th.
all over the world, yeah, but I bet that was at the end. But I mean, and he's pretending climate change is a hoax, and he's drawing hurricane patterns on with Sharpies, and I mean, just think of look at the hurricane we had right now, the other day, and it hit all those places in North Carolina and Tennessee, all that flooding did that they weren't expecting, and they still got people up there that they can't even get to, that they don't even know where they're at. And they're missing and everything. Can you imagine if Trump was the president? Because he's already went and done a little, speech at there and took away from the people who are actually trying to rescue and help the people that lived in that area, so he could be there to do his little conference, his news conference.
Now, let's be fair, Robin. He took paper towels to Puerto Rico for them to clean up the mess there before.
And he didn't even throw these people on paper towels. Not one row of paper towels out. And plus, let me tell you something else he's doing. I seen today where he is taking donations for a disaster relief fund. He is going to scam people into paying him money for this so he can steal their damn money. Because that's what he does every time he raises money for the wall or whatever. That's what he does, is he steals it.
Yeah. Yeah, if I remember correctly, there was also whenever they had the whole thing with the balloon that flew over, didn't they end up finding out that there was a bunch of those when Trump was president? So Trump did nothing to make us more safe and secure. He other than he was buddies with all of our enemies, so they weren't, They
don't tell him what he told Putin. As far as national secrets. I mean, we were going to sell we were going to sell a submarine or whatever to a country, and and he goes and talks about our nuclear stuff, out in that country. They were getting ready to buy one, and then they didn't buy it because he flapped his mouth about the weapon, what was on it, what it had the ability to do. I mean, he's so stupid. I mean, I can't believe that we let some moron like that. I would rather have your kid Joe, around the nuclear button and him.
I don't know about that.
Well,
but I understand.
I'd rather have you than him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, I think I could do better than Trump.
I know you could. I know you probably already have.
Yeah.
You ain't a traitor.
Yeah, I accomplished more than Trump from Ashland, Kentucky.
And Biden had
all of which I appreciate, Governor.
An authorization for all the money already signed before the storms even hit. Now, like North Carolina and stuff, that was out of the way of the storm. So that, you know, those are areas that were not expected to be impacted the way they are. You know what I mean? But the areas that were like Florida and stuff like that were supposed to be impacted in Georgia and stuff, he had the money signed before the storms hit. So
I think we have supporters. Joe and Robin, 2024.
There we go. Well, hey, why is he president? Let me be president.
You can be president. I think I'm more qualified, though. I have all the felony convictions, right? I don't have 34.
I don't have any felonies.
I don't have 34, but I've got several. I mean, I think that's one of the qualifications now.
It's bringing up.
Yeah,
but when did Iran and Hamas and their proxies attack Israel? It was during the administration of Kamala Harris. So Governor Walz can criticize Donald Trump's tweets, but effective, smart diplomacy and peace through strength is how you bring stability back to a very broken world. Donald Trump has already done it once before. Ask yourself at home, when was the last time, I'm 40 years old, when was the last time that an American president didn't have a major conflict break out? The only answer is during the 4 years that Donald Trump was president.
Gentlemen, we have a lot to get to. Nora? Margaret?
Wrong. Like, the problem is because of the things that Trump did, all the violence took place here in the United States. I mean, like, domestic terrorism became a thing. Fanatics and things that followed Trump were doing all kinds of crazy stuff and attacking people. We had the January 6th riots took place. Sure, there was no new foreign wars that started, but that's not like he was in cahoots with Putin. We all know that. And then as soon as
threatening to pull out of NATO.
Yeah, he wanted to pull out of NATO.
And threatening
the Paris Climate Accords, the Iran nuclear deal, the World Health Organization. I mean, he was against all these things, and his actions led to some of the things that we see now. So, you know, Putin was lining up on the border, and as soon as Trump left, that's whenever he started to invade Ukraine. It's not like Donald Trump did anything to benefit us either domestically or foreign in any way. What is that? Could be, Joe, that Trump supporters would actually vote for. He'd have a stifle of atheism. Yeah, I can be a Jesus freak for a little while. I love Jesus.
Yeah,
vote for me.
You're from Kentucky. You live by the Ark. You can do a campaign thing from the Ark.
Yeah, you heard I was an atheist. I'm from Kentucky. I can't be an atheist. We were just joking.
Thank you. Thank you. Senator, I want to give you an opportunity to respond there. The governor mentioned that President Trump has called climate change a hoax. Do you agree?
Well, look, what the president has said is that if the Democrats, in particular Kamala Harris,
do you agree?
and her leadership, if they really believe...
Here's his answer. To solve climate change, let's produce the hell out of and we are producing energy. We've produced more oil under Biden than we did under Trump. But I don't understand Vance's his proposal on what to do.
Well, what he's saying is that American jobs are cleaner, that we use cleaner energy and stuff here in America. And by making Trump president, he's going to invest into moving all these jobs back to America and do all these tariffs and stuff that forces them
What
to do
jobs?
stuff in America.
No.
Yeah. So
What jobs,
that
though?
way it'll be cleaner. Yeah.
90, he lies. He says that he says all the solar panels are made in China, and like 80%, 80 or 90% of those are made in the United States.
Yeah. That
what you said.
that
was a lie. You know.
Now, if you want to get into the viability of solar panels, that's a different discussion, right? Because solar panels has its pros and cons, right? But it's better than burning coal and fossil fuels. I mean, all right.
But we got to develop. I mean,
serious.
If people ever get used to the idea that we have to go green, then maybe our people who have got the good minds that invent stuff, will develop this. More. I mean, there's all kinds of like stuff that's out in the water. Have you seen all that stuff? They got these things out in the water. These spin. These they're like water. Things.
Yeah,
they hook on.
They're just
really
like
cool.
turbines, kind of. They're wave machines. Yeah,
but they're like underwater though, and they've got them. They've got them like in Norway and stuff like that off the coast.
Yeah. There's sustainable renewable energy sources, and we haven't got to the point yet to where we can like just say give up on oil or whatever. But even if that's your argument, like we still produced more oil than ever in history under Joe Biden. We've still the oil business has been better than ever under Biden, and we've got all these growing jobs in the renewable energy sector because of it. I mean, that's obviously the technology of the future. It's what we're going to have to do. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, we're going to have to quit polluting so bad, or we're not going to have a place to have presidents for,
Yeah, and it's not just the polluting. This is a finite resource.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And until we develop another energy source to use, that is a finite source of energy. Okay, so we're just going to use up all the oil that there is on the planet, and then like the future, we have developed no other kind of technology. They'll just be out of fucking oil. They'll just be out of luck. You know what I mean? You're back to the horses and buggies, I guess. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know what it just blows my mind. That people and I how much of that stuff do you think there is? I mean, I know
you haven't had road rage until you've been behind a horse and buggy for 2 hours.
Hey, I've been behind a horse and buggy. I pick up Amish milk, remember? Ride behind them in a milk truck with sloshing.
So this is a conversation I have too, Stephanie. And thanks for coming. I'm not familiar with you, but I'm glad you're here. Hell yeah, solar is better, but nuclear is the cleanest and most efficient. That's true, but it comes with its risks as well, right? So there's a risk reward system. And with nuclear energy, I agree with you. It is the most efficient and it is the cleanest technically, but we have to be able to do it better and safer. And there's some things holding us back there. But as technology moves forward,
safe.
Well,
nuclear energy is safe. I mean, there's like compared to how many, if we just know about
until there's a problem.
We know the few problems that have happened, but the thing about it is those are like the only times that there's ever been issues. You know what I mean?
Well,
and we've learned a lot since then.
Yeah. Nuclear energy is susceptible to a lot of natural disasters and things like that. And once something goes bad, it goes really, really bad. So that's the problem with nuclear energy. Not that it's unsafe whenever it's working right. It's unsafe. If something goes wrong, it goes really, really wrong. It is the safest overall. I'm not disagreeing with that.
It has a way better record than any other
That's why they don't do it, though.
Well, because the public perception is that it's not safe, but it is safe.
Well,
it's like way safer than any other.
Fukushima would disagree.
I'm just telling you that it has a better record. The stats back it up.
It does because it's not used as much.
It is everywhere else in the world.
No. There are
Yeah.
nuclear plants, but there's nowhere near the number of nuclear plants that there are fossil fuel plants, right? So per capita, it's still the safest. I'm not disagreeing with saying it's the safest. I'm just saying when it's not the safest, it's the worst, though. Like when there is an accident, it is the most damaging to the environment and the people around it.
What they would be doing is more manufacturing and more energy production in the United States.
Well, let's talk about it. So
I'm just telling you, it's got a really good record, really good safety record.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I agree with you. I agree. It has a great record. But whenever it does, you have to be aware of where you're putting these nuclear plants and stuff, because when something does go wrong, it makes the land around it uninhabitable and kills the wildlife, the environment, and everything else when it does go bad. I'm just saying this is the major concern with nuclear energy. I'm not arguing that it's not safe. I'm just saying when it goes bad, it's really bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you're talking about like a meltdown, like
Fukushima or
there was that was a nuclear meltdown, but that doesn't, you know, and 3 Mile Island was the one that we had here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those and those are
they were all.
Sorry.
They were all like after they were investigated, they were complete and utter failures of human. They were human caused. They would not have happened if they had been operating properly and been inspected as they were supposed to. In Chernobyl, yeah, they were all caused by human mistakes that should have never happened. That should have been taken. You know, I mean, they just were like running low on personnel, and it was like 10 or 15 different things that had to go wrong for it to happen, and it did. Sort of like, you know,
I agree.
Something like that.
I agree with you completely on that. I'm just saying, what is the result when that does happen, though? And the more of those you build, the more of that's going to happen, right? It's even if it's just once every few years, you're talking about 500 square miles of land that people can't even be on for more than an hour because of the radiation levels. I'm just saying accidents do happen. That is the concern of it.
That's the only thing that can produce the energy we need. Really,
I think that we should invest in making it as safe as possible and preventing human errors and shoring it up against natural disasters, putting it in places that are, you know, have a low number of those and stuff. Of course, you can't predict those, obviously, but I think nuclear energy is the answer if it's done correctly, but you have to put it in the hands of people that can do it correctly.
Yes, it has to be well managed. But it's the only thing that can really produce the amount of energy that we need. You know, like every submarine has a nuclear reactor on it. They have mini reactors. You know, on every, yeah. They have every submarine that we put out in the water has a nuclear reactor on it.
Yeah. No, I agree with that too. It's not quite the same as the ones that are made to produce energy for cities and stuff, but I get what you're saying. All right. Are we okay on the nuclear question?
Yeah,
because I'm not against it. I'm very much for it. We're gonna have to agree to disagree. Do you still love me, Robin?
But we're gonna have to do nuclear because other than fossil fuels, it's the only thing that got to produce enough energy.
I shaved my beard for you, Robin. You can't be.
You look good. I'm not fighting with you. I just think it's not. It's just we're gonna have to get over the way we think of it.
I think there's a lot of. I think that's where we do need to be there, though. That's the conversation. We need to be having those conversations and figuring out what it is we need to do to get there. I agree with that. I'm not anti-nuclear. I'm just saying that that's the main reason that people give for not being for it.
Yeah.
Let me see if it all requests routed.
Yeah, they remember those.
United States of America, and that's not what they're
CEO of
doing.
Antifa.
So clearly Kamala Harris herself doesn't believe her own rhetoric on this. If she did, she would actually agree with Donald Trump's energy policies. Now, something Governor Walz said I think is important to touch upon, because when we talk about clean energy, I think that's a slogan that often the Democrats will use here. And I'm talking, of course, about the Democratic leadership. And the real issue is that if you're spending hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars of American taxpayer money on solar panels that are made in China, number one, you're going to make the economy dirtier. We should be making more of those solar panels here in the United States of America. Some of them are, Tim, but a lot of them are being made overseas in China, especially the components that go into those solar panels. So if you really...
That's not really an argument, is it?
No, what is a dirty economy?
Hey, that's what I was saying.
We were talking about the environment. You know what I mean? He's talking about the economy. I mean...
If we're talking about switching to renewable energy, I understand his problem with China-made solar panels, but China-made solar panels are better than China burning fossil fuels, aren't they? Like, isn't it?
But they use fossil fuels to make
in
them
the right direction. Yeah.
But what?
I
like I seen something today that said that like 90% of the solar panels that we use here are produced here, made here.
You're a member, Stephanie? I'm sorry. How did I miss that? I thought I put all the members in. Hold on. Are you on my list? If you're not on the list, I'll have to update it and fix it. I'm sorry, Stephanie, if I feel bad now. You're not on there. Unless you're on there under a different name. All right. So what did Deviant say here? Sellafield, UK, 1957. Harrisburg, USA, 1979. Chernobyl, Ukraine, 1986. Fukushima, Japan, 2011. Chernobyl being the most devastating. Large. Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, I don't know why I had to go look at that, Maya. It tells me who's a member and who's not. I'm sorry. You're not a member, Stephanie, but you can be for 99 cents. Just click that join button down there. But I appreciate if you just like and subscribe. That'd be awesome. What is this? The minus mine. There are several places in the U.S. where we can host nuclear power sites. Plenty of areas in the rural areas the U.S. could buy. People don't like it, but I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I think that's a big part of it. There's a lot of planning. We're just not even having the conversation though, and that's the biggest issue there.
That one said that, Dave. That's what I was looking at. But there's another one that's a little more nuance on that.
You're okay, Stephanie. I didn't mean to make such a big deal out of it. I'm stupid for not understanding how my YouTube works.
And the Inflation Reduction Act. The Inflation Reduction Act is supposed to increase solar panel production. So there should be like the capacity is supposed to go up, you know what I mean, and plants are supposed to be developed. 72 new plants.
Oak Ridge, yeah. Oak Ridge is a big one. You're right about that. Yeah, there's lots of good ways to do, and especially you can do nuclear in conjunction with other things, right? So you can use hydroelectric power and nuclear as well at the same time. There's ways to integrate it into other power sources. So I don't know. There's a lot to talk about with nuclear. Let's get back to the debate here.
Want to make the environment cleaner, you've got to invest in more energy production. We haven't built a nuclear facility, I think, one in the past 40 years. Senator. Natural gas, we got to invest more in it. Kamala Harris has done the opposite. That's raised energy prices and also meant that we're doing worse by the climate.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, would you like to respond?
First of all, before
natural gas is worse.
Yeah, that's what he said just isn't true.
Yeah, because methane, natural gas has more methane.
The price of energy isn't up either. I mean, there's a big old pandemic. There's a part during the pandemic where the price of gas and oil got really low because there was no demand for it, because that's how markets work, right? On supply and demand. So there was a point where it did get really low, but nobody was using it because we were locked in our houses, you know? So it got low, but nobody benefited from that. So acting like that did somebody a favor is nonsense.
Well, trucking companies did. Like me, I was a essential worker hauling milk. I mean, I never stopped. I had a piece of paper that would have let me get across state lines, even if they had the state blocked or anything like that. You know, it said that I was carrying milk and I was not to be delayed. And, you know, my boss benefited from cheaper fuel. But
they said that me cutting grass made me an essential worker because people's grass still had to be cut.
Oh, really? We had to, like,
yeah,
we got a note, like, we got a message from the FDA and stuff when that first happened, when they first started shutting stuff down. It said that, no, you know, like, pretty much told my boss, you're not allowed to shut down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are not to shut down. You are, you know, and just keep running at maximum capacity. You will be given permits to go, you know, and plus the police didn't bother us or anything either. I could just drive around just as fast as I wanted all the time.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to stop and take a drink. I had some kind of like little letter that I was supposed to carry in my car that said that I was doing essential work and whatever. But yeah, there was. I mean, but if you think about it, what's essential? It depends on. There's a lot that's really subjective to who's asking. I mean, I think it's silly that cutting grass, I have to have a letter that says I'm essential. But at the same time, I understand, like, if we just let all the grass grow up everywhere, it's gonna cause more problems anyway. So I don't know. But also cutting grass, you're not around people, so that was kind of a good thing about my job during the pandemic. But now I have no job. My job is to come hang out with Robin once a week.
Well, look, we're producing more natural gas than we ever have. There's no moratorium on that. We're producing more oil. But the folks know, and like I said again, these are not liberal folks. These are not folks that are Green New Deal folks. These are farmers that have been drought one year, massive flooding the next year. They understand that it makes sense. Look, our #1 export cannot be topsoil from erosion from these massive storms. We saw it in Minnesota this summer. And thinking about how do we respond to that, we're thinking ahead on this. And what Kamala Harris has been able to do in Minnesota, we're starting to weatherproof some of these things. The infrastructure law that was passed allows us to think about mitigation in the future. How do we make sure that we're protecting by burying our power lines? How do we make sure that we're protecting lakefronts and things that we're seeing more and more of? But to call it a hoax and to take the oil company executives to Mar-a-Lago, say, give me money for my campaign, and I'll let you do whatever you want. We can be smarter about that, and an all-above energy policy is exactly what she's doing, creating those jobs right here.
Governor, your time is up. The overwhelming consensus among scientists is that the Earth's climate is warming at an unprecedented rate. Margaret?
Thank you, Nora.
I'm glad that they decided to fact check anything during this, you know, like, because they tried not to, because everybody bitched about it in the last debate. But I mean, whenever they're saying stuff like that.
Yeah, they said they weren't going to.
Yeah, you have to say something there.
And
QR code
he says
that was the stupidest thing ever.
He says, "I thought you weren't going to fact check me."
Yeah.
You know that your argument's junk when you are bitching about being fact checked.
Yeah, well, I mean, whenever they say they're not going to fact check you, and they still have to do it because you're so batshit crazy off the rails saying things. I mean, like, you know.
But I will say I thought that I didn't really see no batshit crazy. I mean, he lied, but you had to, it wasn't a batshit crazy lies, you know what I mean?
The batshit crazy part was Trump's position on it, is what I was saying, because Trump's position is that it's a hoax.
Trump's position on everything is batshit crazy.
I think J.D. Vance did great in this debate. Honestly, I think he did really good, and I think it helped his image some. And I think that we got to see a better side of him. I still think he's a fucking weirdo and like
he's a fraud.
all that, but he's he's just a pawn to Donald Trump. The reason Donald Trump picked him is because if he becomes president, when the shit hits the fan, J.D. Vance is going to do what he's told. He wants only people who are loyal and will do his bidding. He doesn't care about anything else.
I don't think Trump picked him. I don't think he was Trump's pick. I think that he was Don Jr.
Don Jr. is the one that convinced him to pick him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least
I think they all.
That's the reporting.
Yeah. And Tucker Carlson.
Yeah. All right.
Turn now to immigration. The crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border consistently ranks as one of the top issues for American voters. Senator Vance, your campaign is pledging to carry out the largest mass deportation plan in American history and to use the U.S. military to do so. Could you be more specific about exactly how this will work? For example, would you deport parents who have entered the U.S. illegally and separate them from any of their children who were born on U.S. soil? You have 2 minutes.
So first of all, Margaret, before we talk about deportations, we have to stop the bleeding. We have a historic immigration crisis because Kamala Harris started and said that she wanted to undo all of Donald Trump's border policies. 94 executive orders suspending deportations, decriminalizing illegal aliens, massively increasing the asylum fraud that exists in our system. That has opened the floodgates. And what it's meant is that a lot of fentanyl is coming into our country. I had a mother who struggled with opioid addiction and has gotten clean. I don't want people who are struggling with addiction to be deprived of their second chance because Kamala Harris let in fentanyl into our communities at record levels. So you've got to stop the bleeding.
All right. So
that's the kind of stuff I hate they do right there. That's just a dead up lie. Like she's letting fentanyl in.
Well, the numbers that he's going by is how much fentanyl has been taken at the border. So yes, more fentanyl came into the country, but we also seized more fentanyl than ever. We seized way more of it than ever in history. And to then turn around and say Kamala Harris is letting this happen. First of all, she's the vice president. She's not letting anything happen. But second, that's not it. And if you have a problem with the immigration situation and what's coming across the border, Donald Trump could have not made the phone call telling Republicans to shoot down the bill that fixed a lot of these things. The border security, I for the life of me, I can't understand why it's the most important issue to evangelicals and non-evangelicals and all these white Christians. It's the most important issue. But Donald Trump's the one that is responsible for immigration being where it's at now, because we had a bill that would fix a lot of that. It was bipartisan. It was the most conservative border bill ever in history. And Donald Trump's the one that screwed that up. So I think it's pretty shitty to turn around and say that Kamala Harris is causing people to overdose and die because of things at the border, whenever Trump is wholly responsible for the situation at the border right now. Sorry,
yeah.
I had to rant about that one.
Yeah, you're right. First of all, most of the fentanyl that comes into the United States comes in by American citizens through other ports, not the border. Come in through seaports and stuff. That's where a majority of the fentanyl enters the United States, and it's brought in by American citizens. A lot of it is. Second of all, we in 2023 and 24 there, we had a sudden and overdose deaths fell off way like a lot. I don't even know if they know exactly why, but last year was like the lowest number of overdoses that we had in years and years. It was like it plummeted, the bottom fell out of it. And so, you know, and like you said, the border is operating as lawfully as it is the law, you know, under lawful. That's as the law is written, that's how the border is operating. And, you know,
Right.
Congress is responsible for the border, not the president. We have the most useless Congress in the world right now, ever.
Yeah. The only change to border policy since Joe Biden became president has been the end of Title 42, right? Because, but that wasn't
Biden. Well, Biden implemented some kind of. He put on some. He did a executive order, not like 3 months ago, something like that.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It tightened up stuff, but until then, it was operating lawfully, you know, as the law says it's supposed to. You know what I mean? I have this trouble with my dad. You know what I mean? My dad's bitching about the border, and I said, the law is what it is. You know what I mean? You know, my dad said, I don't care what the law is. You know what I mean? So it was like, you know what I mean? Never mind that. You know what I mean? I said, but Trump is not supposed to break the law to handle the border. The law is supposed to be written by Congress.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. Congress is the ones that have to approve these things. And it burns me up though that here they want to sit and make all these arguments about the border when Trump is
the damn gates.
Trump did it. It's Trump's fault completely.
Look, we had the border under Trump got to shut down lawfully because of Title 42, which was an emergency thing because of COVID. Okay, so and the Supreme Court ended that after Biden got in office. He had no choice; he couldn't keep it. And there, you know, I mean, no, the border has operated under Biden as it is written in law. You know, and it's not really Biden's place to fix it. It is Congress's place to fix it. And if you've ever kept up with Joe Biden, there's one thing about Joe Biden: he's an institutionalist. I mean, so he knows that what Congress is responsible for the border, and so he likes to leave stuff to the institution that is responsible for it. That's one thing he's big about. And so that's why he never did come in and do a whole lot of stuff to the border until they bunked the border bill, until they killed the border bill. It went down from records highs under Biden. It's operating as law, though. Bitch at your congressperson.
It's not even true.
If you're a Republican, bitch at your Republican congressman for not voting for the border bill. Yeah. Because they had a chance to pass a really hard border bill, actually.
Everything that they wanted was in that bill, and they were going to get all of that. And they didn't.
Not listening,
Don't tell me to just look at that. I'm telling you that the numbers that you're using are incorrect, because what you said about it went up
based on a legal border.
Yeah, I don't think that that's true, Jeremiah. I will look at the numbers and I'll post something later. But I think that you're actually I think you're factually wrong there. I think you're wrong. There's
a whole lot of nuance that it ain't all about numbers. It's about nuance, and it's about Trump killing the border bill.
Yeah, that's the problem. You don't get to bitch about the border. Trump is the reason it is the way it is. You do not get to bitch about the border and anyone take you seriously. We had, again, the most conservative bill. It was everything that they wanted. It was everything that Trump had bitched about, that Republicans had bitched about. It was everything that they wanted. And Trump told them not to do it because he needed chaos in order to run, because there's no reason to elect him. He didn't do anything. He's a racist and a xenophobic. That's the only thing he had to run on is, hey, I'm a racist. Well, I'm going to stop brown people at the border. That's his only platform. So
where's his wall at? Where's that big wall at? He promised. Campaign promise. Big, beautiful wall. It's falling apart. He'd redone a little tiny bit of border wall that was already there. And he done like 20 feet or some shit like that, and then stole the rest of the money. Bannon did.
I would, if you want to, again, I always offer this to everyone, Jeremiah. It's not just you, but if you would like to come today or some other time and have a conversation, not today, have a conversation with me about immigration and the border, I would be more than happy to do that. We can talk about it. I'll be nice to you and everything. I won't call you an asshole or nothing like that. Anybody that wants to talk, there it is, the KentuckyAtheist@gmail.com. Send me an email and we'll talk. Doesn't have to be on video, but I would like to talk to you publicly, but it doesn't have to be.
And I'm not against immigrants coming. I mean, I understand that there's a lot of Republicans that are, but I'm not anti-immigrant. We have to have immigrants. So, I mean, I understand why you probably like for all of us to have left. Yeah, I am too, actually. I'm Cherokee. I seen somebody up here that said that they were here because of liberal redneck. Did you see that?
No.
Who was that? So they found this channel because of liberal redneck.
I don't know.
I've never heard of that. That's Trey Crowder, right?
Did Trey Crowder send?
Huh?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I learned Stephanie. I learned your channel from liberal redneck. It's Trey.
Oh, well, tell him thanks. I appreciate it.
Did liberal redneck mention this channel? That would be really cool.
Yeah. White people having small percentages of indigenous or POC ancestry doesn't mean you're subject to systemic racism or don't live with white privilege. Yeah, no, that's right, Somali. Good point. Good point. All right, let's keep going. Here in a minute, I'll skip ahead some so we can get to because I want to get to the guns part and the abortion part. The stuff at the end is really important. Did someone call you a racist?
I don't know if you're racist.
Oh, I see what you're doing. You're trying to. Never mind.
You've got to re-implement Donald Trump's border policies, build the wall, re-implement deportations. And that gets me to your point, Margaret, about what do we actually do? So we've got 25 million illegal aliens who are here in the country. What do we do with them? I think the first.
False. There are not 25 million illegal aliens. It's like 11. He made that number up.
I don't call them illegal. I call them undocumented people.
Sure, I just used the word he did, but
I know, but I hate that word when they say that because no human is illegal.
Well, I mean, I think under the law that's how it's written, isn't it? That they're illegal aliens. That's their. I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter. I agree with you. Undocumented is a better way to say it. I don't want to argue about that, but
no, they just use
he just lied. There's not. That number isn't true. There was some people that said the number was like 6, and then they said it was 11 or 12. Trump started at 16 and said it may be 16, or I think it's actually higher than that. It could be 20 or 25 or 30 or 35 million. Trump's full of shit, and JD Vance.
The government says 12, 11 to 12. The government says 11 to 12. That's what the Homeland Security says, or whatever.
Yeah, 12 was the number I remembered, but yeah, 11 to 12. That's right. So this is, I mean, he's more than double the number because what's he trying to do? Fearmonger. He has to make you think that there's these millions and millions of undocumented people that are giving your kids fentanyl, and it's just not the case. And again, you don't get to bitch about the border.
No, because dummy killed the
First thing that we do is we start with the criminal migrants. About 1 million of those people have committed some form of crime in addition to crossing the border illegally. I think you start illegal aliens to undercut the wages of American workers. A lot of people will go home if they can't work for less than minimum wage in our own country. And by the way, that'll be really good for our workers who just want to earn a fair wage for doing a good day's work. And the final point, Margaret, is you ask about family separation. Right now in this country, Margaret, we have 320,000 children that the Department of Homeland Security has effectively lost. Some of them have been sex trafficked. Some of them hopefully are at homes with their families. Some of them have been used as drug trafficking mules. The real family separation policy in this country is unfortunately Kamala Harris's wide open southern border. And I'd ask my fellow Americans to remember when she came into office, she said she was going to do this. Real leadership would be saying, you know what, I screwed up. We're going to go back to Donald Trump's border policies. I wish that she would do that. It would be good for all of us.
Governor, do you care to respond to any of those specific allegations, including that the vice president is, quote, letting in fentanyl and using kids as drug mules, among other things regarding children?
The drug mule is not true, but I will say about this, about the fentanyl, because this is a crisis of this, the opioid crisis. And the good news on this is the last 12 months saw the largest decrease in opioid deaths in our nation's history, 30% decrease in Ohio, but there's still more work.
What do you know? It's the opposite of what he said. Again, J.D. Vance, the numbers that he's using to talk about fentanyl are what's being seized coming across the border. And since there's more being seized, he says Kamala Harris is letting more in. This is the same thing that Klan mom Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to do during a hearing, is try to say that it's all Joe Biden's fault because of all this fentanyl. But it's what they're seizing. They're catching it. They're doing a good job. That's the thing. Like, this isn't. You should be happy because they weren't seizing it before. The rate of deaths from fentanyl went down. Of course, we have methamphetamine.
We had a 10.6% decline in overdoses.
Yes, exactly the opposite of what J.D. Vance said.
So that's a huge decrease.
I think that's pretty bad for your argument, J.D.
And some states are showing like 20 and 30% declines.
Yes. It was up to 25 in a lot of in the states in my area. I think he said Ohio was 25. I know that there was fentanyl has decreased a lot, but we've seen a rise.
But it says the national decline is right at 15%, which means that's huge. That's 20,000 people who didn't die that had been dying the year before.
Yeah. Fuck you, J.D. Vance. That was a shitty lie to make. Like that's
to do. But let's go back to this on immigration. Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of the largest state and a border state in California. She's the only person in this race who prosecuted transnational gangs for human trafficking and drug interventions. But look, we all want to solve this. Most of us want to solve this. And that is the United States Congress. That's the Border Patrol agents. That's the Chamber of Commerce. That's most Americans out here. That's why we had the fairest and the toughest bill on immigration that this nation's seen.
Touchdown.
It was crafted by a conservative senator from Oklahoma, James Lankford. I know him. He's super conservative, but he's a man of principle, wants to get it done. Democrats and Republicans worked on this piece of legislation. The Border Patrol said, this is what we need in here. These are the experts. And the Chamber of Commerce and the Wall Street Journal said, pass this thing. Kamala Harris helped get there. 1,500 new border agents, detection for drugs, DOJ money to speed up these the adjudications on this, just what America wants. But as soon as I was getting ready to pass and actually tackle this, Donald Trump said no, told them to vote against it because it gives him a campaign issue. It gives him what would Donald Trump talk about if we actually did some of these things? And they need to be done by the legislature. You can't just do this through the executive branch. So look, we have the options to do this. Donald Trump had 4 years.
Think it's something stupid
to 4 years to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this debate wasn't as divisive and so much of a shit show as it is with Trump on stage. But, I mean, right here, Walls absolutely destroys J.D. Vance, everything that he just said, because it was lies. It wasn't true. Like, I don't think that a lot of people really caught how important what he's saying here is. He's saying, J.D. Vance, you just lied about all these things. The numbers are exactly the opposite of what you said they are. And if you wanted these things, here's how we do these things, and there was a bill for that, and your running mate decided to kill that. And
Yeah.
so what are you talking about? Like, quit thinking about couches and get back on subject, man.
Well, I mean, what gets me is like JD Vance, he knows that most of their base does not fact check anything they say. So they can get up there
Right.
and, I've seen Trump get up there and make the most ridiculous claims and people will repeat them. I mean, just like the eating dogs and cats, they don't fact check nothing. And so whatever numbers he pulls out of his ass that day is what number they run around repeating for a day or two.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, and that's why there's so much against fact checking though, right? Because they don't want to hear facts. They want to, it's more, the more divisive you can be and the more you can scare people and stir up fear and things like that, you have a number of people who it actually scares, and then you have people who are excited by that, and then you have all the racists and stuff that are part of the Republican Party. That, I mean, that's why they do this and get away with it, is because it's their bread and butter. The Republican Party has lost its damn mind, and they, we should be saying so. And every time that they want to tell this lie, somebody should be there to say that's bullshit. That's not true. And if you've got a problem with it, why did you not fix it when you had the chance? All right.
They just need to elect some people with some ethics.
Let me get up here. Let's skip up here. I think it's right here.
Gentlemen, there's a lot to discuss. We have to move on, and we're going to be right back with much more of the CBS News vice presidential debate in just a moment.
Commercial break.
Welcome back to the CBS News vice presidential debate. We want to turn now to America's gun violence epidemic. The leading cause of death for children and teens in America is by firearms. Senator Vance, you oppose.
Hold on, before she asks the question, what are you talking about, Beamsy?
So I'm losing their mind.
Something about losing something.
Their mind.
Oh, okay. Okay. I just didn't want to have to talk about the other subject in the middle of this one, because this one's really important. All right,
he's talking about when you said they were losing their mind.
Most gun legislation that Democrats claim would curb gun violence. You oppose red flag gun laws and legislation to ban certain semi-automatic rifles, including AR-15s. So let me ask you, earlier this year, for the first time, the parents of a school shooter were convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Do you think holding parents responsible could curb mass shootings? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, Nora, on that particular case, I don't know the full details, but I certainly trust local law enforcement and local authorities to make those decisions. I think in some cases the answer is going to be yes, and in some cases the answer is going to be no. And the details really matter here, of course. For example, if a kid steals a gun, that's going to be different than if a parent hands over a gun knowing that their kid is potentially dangerous. But look, I want to just sort of speak as a father of 3 beautiful little kids, and our oldest is now in 2nd grade. And like a lot of parents, we send our kids to school with such hope and such joy and such pride at their little faces on the first day of school. And we know, unfortunately, that a lot of kids are going to experience this terrible epidemic of gun violence. And of course, our hearts go out to the families that are affected by this terrible stuff. And we do have to do better. And I think that Governor Walz and I actually probably agree that we need to do better on this. The question is just, how do we actually do it? Now, here's something that really bothers me and worries me about this epidemic of violence. The gross majority, close to 90% in some of the statistics I've seen, of the gun violence in this country is committed with illegally obtained firearms. And while we're on that topic, we know that thanks to Kamala Harris's open border, we've seen a massive influx in the number of illegal guns run by the.
Okay. You don't get to bitch about the border, but also, where did those guns come from that all the cartels have? Where did they get those guns? Because they didn't manufacture them. Where did they come from? They came from the
Yeah.
United States because we
They come
have
back-
so
even
many
in
fucking
states,
guns.
even in even
Yeah.
in states where, like, okay, some states like the red, blue states have got like stricter gun laws or whatever did. Okay, but then all you got to do is climb in your car and drive over the state line and go to a gun show and buy a gun, and you don't even have to do no kind of check, no background check or nothing. You don't even have to raise because because the Supreme Court struck down the gun show clause or whatever, and so you can buy whatever you want at a gun show, and you don't have to get a background check. So that's what they do. They just drive across the state line and buy a gun, and then go back to their place in the blue state where the guns are restricted a little more. So it does no good. Because
sorry, I'm stuttering too.
Go ahead.
I'm a convicted felon, a multi-time convicted felon. They're all low-level felonies. I don't have any big ones, but nothing violent, nothing really all that bad. I mean, none of it's good, of course. But I'm a convicted felon. If I wanted a gun, I could go get one tomorrow. No problem. I could get one tomorrow. Easy as can be. Because you know, you want to point to all these things and say, oh, mental health and the border and illegal immigrants and illegal guns and all these other things. But what do these all have in common? It's the guns. The guns are the fucking problem.
Beamsy, did you not hear me say that overdose deaths were down significantly last year? I don't know where you're saying spike related, both drug related and gun deaths. I know he says both. He said both. No, the drug related. No, it's not. It's down. We went down like over, what did I say, 11% or something.
Yeah, it was 10 something.
Now guns are the number one cause of death for children in the United States.
So never mind anything else. Okay, forget the border and the rest of it. Guns are the number one cause of death in children in the United States. Why are we not fixing that? Why are we not doing everything possible to fucking fix that? I mean, really, this is how broken our government is. And it's because of people like J.D. Vance and the NRA that don't want them to even look at these studies. But as long as gun deaths are the number one cause of children and kids are afraid to go to school and shit, that there's a problem that needs to be fucking fixed. And I don't care what any argument is. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It doesn't matter what argument you make. It's the number one cause of death in children. We can change that. We need to. No matter how we do it, we need to change that.
And 2 days after Uvalde shootings, gun shooting, school shooting, lawmakers showed up in Congress wearing AR-15 pins on their lapels.
Yeah. Fucking assholes.
The Republicans did. Yes. They were wearing little AR-15 pins. I mean, some of them weren't even buried yet, or probably hadn't even been identified yet, because they had to identify them through like all kinds of DNA and stuff, because there wasn't enough left of them to see who they were.
Sumami, I've been locked up a lot. We ought to talk about this sometime, because I know some stuff that would, I mean, it may not blow your mind. You may know a lot about it too, but there's a lot of bad stuff there that I can put some light on. It's pretty wild. But yeah, when we had gun legislation under Clinton, gun violence declined. Yes, we know what will happen if we go back to certain laws we had in place before that they let expire. We know what it will do. It will result. Yeah. I think it will result in less gun violence.
The Brady bill expired. It was only good for so many years. The Brady bill went into effect after Reagan got shot.
It was the assault weapons bill was the big one.
And Brady was his
well, that's
Secretary of State.
Fine, but
was he the Secretary of State, Brady? And it was named after him because he was paralyzed when Reagan was shot.
The Brady bill was about background checks and stuff. It
banned automatic weapons too. Like
we had an assault weapons bill that was separate, and they had reissued it for 5 years straight. They had renewed it over and over and over, and then Republicans chose not to. So
I live in Kentucky, John. Kentucky. It's not in England. Do I sound like an Englishman?
Yeah. Are you ready, Governor?
Do I sound like an English person?
Not in any fucking way. Not in any way. I would guess Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You're gonna see me get animated about this because this pisses me off. It should piss everyone off.
Mexican drug cartels. So that number, the amount of illegal guns in our country is higher today than it was 3.5 years ago. But what do we do about the schools? What do we do to protect our kids? And I think the answer is, and I say this not loving the answer, because I don't want my kids to go to school in a school that feels unsafe or where there are visible signs of security. But I unfortunately think that we have to increase security in our schools. We have to make the doors lock better. We have to make the doors stronger. We've got to make the windows stronger. And of course, we've got to increase school resource officers, because the idea...
Kids are dying, you fucking jackass, and you're talking about doors. Guns are the problem. We know the guns are the problem. Doors aren't going to fix it.
We can do both.
You know, yeah. You want to make schools more secure, do it. But let's quit putting so many guns out there for these kids to take to school. Let's do something about the guns. Like everything that he says here, it's so crazy to me that he wants to talk about school security and mental health and all these other things, whenever the common factor in all those is that we have so many guns. He mentioned we have all these illegal guns. Why do we have these illegal guns? Because
they're not allowed. They're not allowed to say anything about gun control.
Right.
They're not allowed.
Because
the NRA,
this right here,
the NRA is one of the groups that owns the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Fossil fuel industry and the NRA are the two the owners of the Republican Party.
Let's not do something about guns. Let's build prisons to keep our kids in. Like, what the fuck? Like, how can you be? I know how you can be that way. Never mind. Don't answer that. It's rhetorical. All right.
Penis envy.
That's it. We can magically wave a wand and take guns out of the hands of bad guys. It just doesn't fit with recent experience. So we've got to make our schools safer. And I think we've got to have some common sense bipartisan solutions for how to do that.
Governor, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I think all the parents watching tonight, this is your biggest nightmare. Look, I got a 17-year-old, and he witnessed a shooting at a community center playing volleyball. Those things don't leave you. As a member of Congress, I sat in my office surrounded by dozens of the Sandy Hook parents, and they were looking at my 7-year-old picture on the wall. Their 7-year-old were dead, and they were asking us to do something. And look, I'm a hunter. I own firearms. The vice president is. We understand that the Second Amendment is there, but our first responsibility is to our kids to figure this out. In Minnesota, we've enacted enhanced red flag laws, enhanced background checks, and we can start to get data. But here's the problem. If we really want to solve this, we've got folks that won't allow research to be even done on gun violence. And this idea that we should just live with it, and here's what I do think, that this is a good start to the conversation. I 100% believe that Senator Vance hates it when these kids, it's abhorrent and it breaks your heart. I agree with that. But that's not far enough when we know there are things that worked. I've spent time in Finland and seen some Finnish schools. They don't have this happen, even though they have a high gun ownership rate in the country. There are reasonable things that we can do to make a difference. It's not infringing on your Second Amendment. And the idea to have some of these weapons out there, it just doesn't make any sense. Kamala Harris, as an attorney general, worked on this issue. She knows that it's there. No one's trying to scaremonger and say we're taking your guns, but I ask all of you out there, do you want your schools hardened to look like a fort? Is that what we have to go? When we know there's countries around the world that their children aren't practicing these types of drills. They're being kids. We owe it to them to get a fix. These are things that shouldn't be that difficult. You can still keep your firearms, and we can make a difference. We have to. If you're listening tonight, this breaks your heart.
Senator.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting. And I'm sorry about that, and I hope that he's doing okay. Christ have mercy. It is awful. And I appreciate what Tim said, actually, about Finland, because I do think it illustrates some of the weird differences between our own country's gun violence problem and Finland. Is, okay, first of all, we have way higher rates of mental health abuse, or mental health substance abuse. We have way higher rates of depression, way higher rates of anxiety. We unfortunately have a mental health crisis in this country that I really do think that.
Okay, we unfortunately have more fucking guns than anywhere else too, and that seems to be the problem, JD. Quit trying to blame it on people with mental health issues. That all this does is make the stigma around mental health worse. You know that, like, and blaming it on people who we have substance abuse problems. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Okay, the problem is the guns.
They've removed any way of finding out if a person who's purchasing a gun has mental health issues.
Yes. Yeah, they voted against that. Yes.
You're not even allowed to find out if the person that's buying the gun has a mental health issue. So, they do this every time, but then they don't even let us prevent people with mental health issues from buying guns.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I agree that there's problems with mental health and mental health stigma and mental health pharmaceuticals and all kinds of. I agree there's problems with all those things in the United States, but the lowest common denominator here is the fucking guns. That is, if the guns weren't there, it wouldn't be an issue, right? I mean, if you take the guns out of this equation, it solves all those problems rather than focusing on. Oh, just this little group that needs mental health, or this little group of substance abuse. If you take the guns out, none of those groups exist. It fixes it all.
Okay, but we don't have to look. Red flag laws work.
I'm not saying get rid of
background
guns.
checks work.
Yeah.
No,
I agree. All we got
to do is use those laws. I mean, but half the states won't even do that. And then, like I said, if Minnesota has a gun law that has background checks and red flag laws and everything, all they have to do is drive over into a red state and buy their gun, and they don't have to do it because some of them don't have those. And so the fact that it's not nationwide just makes it useless.
You want to talk about mental health? It's easier to get a gun than it is to get mental health care.
Yeah.
I mean,
to get employment.
There's your fucking. You want to compare those two? Let's talk about that. But it's easier for me to go get a whole bag full of guns right now than it is to go see a shrink. So fuck you, JD Vance. This stuff is so ridiculous because it's like, oh, I'm gonna address every other problem but the one that's actually there. It's the metaphorical big elephant in the room. Like,
at least he recognized that Governor Walz' son watched the shooting.
Yeah.
Trump that would have went right over Trump's head. He would have never.
Trump would have said, "I like kids. I like kids that don't get shot." Like that.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
We need to get to the root causes of, because I don't think it's the whole reason why we have such a bad gun violence problem, but I do think it's a big piece of it. Another driver of the gun violence epidemic, especially that affecting our kids, it doesn't earn as many headlines, but is the terrible gun violence problem in a lot of our big cities. And this is why we have to empower law enforcement to arrest the bad guys, put them away, and take gun offenders off the streets. I think there's a whole host of things that we can do here, but I do think at our schools we've got to talk about more security.
Senator, thank you. Governor, you previously opposed an assault weapons ban, but only later in your political career did you change your position. Why?
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the end.
What a fucking awesome answer, Like, they say, you changed your position on some of these things. Why did you do that? And he says, things changed. There was new information. And now I see where the problem is. And these people who were bitching about the guns were right, I don't know if I may have cut out the part where he says it, but both Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are both gun owners. They hunt, they own guns, and that's cool. I'm not against guns. I'm against the way America does guns. I'm against having weapons of war out there that anybody can go grab in a second without a background check, or that people who do have mental health issues can grab, or people that have been bullied and get upset and go back to the school with a weapon and do the things that we see on the news every fucking day. Like, I'm not against guns. We can have guns, but we have to have common sense gun laws and responsible gun owners. We have to ensure that. I mean, they don't let you drive a car unless you got a license, right? Why is that? It's because you can kill everybody with your car, because you have to be responsible enough to do it. Like, but then when it comes to guns, they're like, oh, you're of age, can't buy cigarettes. Here's you a gun, though. Like, it's common sense gun laws. And if any laws that we would make that takes guns out of the hands of people that don't need them, any law we make that does that would result in lowering these numbers. But they say these things. What have they done? They've done absolutely nothing. Thoughts and prayers. They've done nothing. Sorry.
And claims of mental health things, and they refuse to even give any money for mental health.
Yeah.
NRA. I was an NRA guy for a long time. They used to teach gun safety. I'm of an age where my shotgun was in my car so I could pheasant hunt after football practice. That's not where we live today. And several things I want to mention on this is talking about cities and where it's at. The number one where the most firearm deaths happen in Minnesota are rural suicides. And we have an epidemic of children getting guns and shooting themselves. And so we have, and we should look at all of the issues, making sure folks have health care and all that, but I want to be very careful. This idea of stigmatizing mental health, just because you have a mental health issue doesn't mean you're violent. And I think what we end up doing is we start looking for a scapegoat. Sometimes it just is the guns. It's just the guns. And there are things that you can do about it. But I do think that this is one, and I think this is a healthy conversation. I think there's a capacity to find solutions on this that work, protect Second Amendment, protect our children. That's our priority.
Gentlemen, thank you. Margaret?
Thank you, Nora. Let's turn.
Exactly. Why can't we not do both? Why in the world are we let's do both. I'm for that. Like,
he's saying exactly what every American is saying. You know what I mean? Most Americans
and
do not have the stance that the Republicans do in Congress about the guns, because they're not lobbied by the NRA.
Right. If you disagree with what Tim Walz said there, it's just, you have a terrible, horrible position. Like, I don't understand how anybody could disagree that, let's fix those things. Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about security. But sometimes it's just the guns. Let's take care of the guns too. Like, why is it that we can do these other things, but they don't want to talk about the other? And Robin's right. It's because they're lobbied by the gun industry. I mean, it's
and the NRA is holding our nation hostage. Our nation's children hostage.
We haven't even got to abortion yet. I'm gonna fucking have a heart attack there. Watch.
Don't have a heart attack.
Robin's probably gonna get mad at that one too. I quit taking on the meds, so
I kind of figured. I know what both their stances are on this, so I wasn't surprised. In fact, Vance kind of. He didn't actually present his actual position, but I know what it is.
Yeah. Any argument?
He doesn't even believe. He's already said that he does not believe in abortion in the case of rape.
Oh, well, hold on. Wait, we'll get. Don't do that yet.
Right.
We'll get there. I think it's the next question, actually. But just to end the gun thing, though, like, any argument you have that says, we need mental health and all that. Any argument you have, my response is going to be, guns are the number one cause of death of children in this country. Guns are, not mental health, not school security. It's guns. So unless any argument you have includes fixing our gun laws and implementing common sense gun laws, I just think it's such an abhorrent, immoral piece of shit position to have. Like, sorry, that's how I feel about it.
I do too.
Now to the top contributor to inflation, the high cost of housing and rent. There's a shortage of more than 4 million homes in the United States, and that contributes to the high housing prices. Governor Walz, the Harris campaign promises a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and a $10,000 tax credit. They also promise to build 3 million new homes. Where are you building these homes, and won't handing out that kind of money just drive up prices higher?
No, it's not handing out. First, let me say this issue of housing, and I think those of you listening on this, the problem we've had is that we've got a lot of folks that see housing as another commodity. It can be bought up, it can be shifted, it can be moved around. Those are not folks living in those houses. Those of you listening tonight, that house is a big deal. I bought and owned one house in my life. My mom still lives in the house where I was. And when I think of a house, I'm thinking of Christmas services after midnight mass where you go with your family. We need to make it more affordable. And one of the things, as I said, this program that the Vice President is pushing forward and bringing a new way of approaching this is something we're doing in Minnesota from that lead. We in the state invested in making sure our housing was the biggest investment that we'd ever made in housing. It starts to make it easier. We cut some of the red tape. Local folks, look, we can't do it at the federal level, but local folks make it easier to build those homes. And then that down payment assistance. I can tell all of you out there, one of the
I'm gonna skip around here in a second and get to the abortion part because we've been going for an hour and a half and I want to cover it. But
okay. I think she has a great plan. I think she has a good plan.
Yes. Why do you invest? Why do you invest in first-time home buyers? What is the reasoning behind doing that? I mean, you want to answer, Robin, or you want me to answer it?
Well, I mean, all I know is that they're young people and they don't have the money for the down payment often. And they will hang on to that house for a little while, and then they will sell it and trade up and buy a bigger house. And if they have a house, they have a job, they keep a job, they can raise a family.
So people who own homes have more stable jobs and income. They have
more children.
They have more stable families. There's all these things that by investing in first-time home buyers, you're actually investing in the future, because these first-time home buyers are then entering the economy and having a positive effect on the economy all the way around. It stabilizes people's lives and their jobs and all those things. It fixes a lot of the issues that we can point to as problems, I guess, in America. So that you want to invest in ownership of homes for first-time buyers. It's a big thing. Let me find. I'm going to jump around for a second here.
For letting in millions of illegal aliens into this country, which
all of those things in the long run end up saving our money. And that's the thing that I think we should be able to find some common ground in, but we can't blame immigrants for the only reason. That's not the case that's happening in many cities. The fact of the matter is that we don't have enough naturally affordable housing, but we can.
He actually blamed immigrants for the housing.
It's also going to become a lot more expensive.
I mean,
if we
immigrants
open up
actually
American
work
energy, you will get immediate pricing relief.
Building homes.
Yeah.
They belong to all of us.
But again,
this is when you view housing and you view the
floors. But we increasingly have a federal administration that makes it harder to develop our resources, makes it harder.
And can you guarantee that Americans with pre-existing conditions won't pay more? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, of course, we're going to cover Americans with pre-existing conditions. In fact, a lot of my family.
With what? They have no plan.
No plan. No plan.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna do this and that.
I mean, I have this. I pay for my insurance. I have the Affordable Care Act. You know what I mean? Because I make too much money to get Medicaid or whatever from Kentucky. So I have
get
to buy
Medicaid.
my insurance, and they do subsidize part of my payment, my premiums. Based on my income.
If it wasn't for Medicaid, if it wasn't for making people at least try to get insurance through the Obamacare thing, the Affordable Care Act, I would be dead right now, because having Medicaid absolutely saved my life whenever my heart tried to fall apart. I had $250,000 worth of surgery done on my heart. I mean, it's a good thing that I had insurance, because I was taken care of and stuff. And this was during the pandemic. I had to have this done. So it's.
Yeah, Kentucky was real good, though. Kentucky expanded. They were real good. I'm going to say my state did good during the pandemic. They expanded the coverage. They bypassed all of the qualification things for it. They gave it people, if you went and asked for it, you got it right away. They did do that, and they didn't cancel that until June of this year. Well, and that's when I had to go actually buy my insurance.
So the year that I had heart surgery, which was I think 3 years ago, it might have been 4. So what happened is after I had the heart surgery, I had to go to a critical care hospital for 8 weeks, and I had to be on IV antibiotics the whole time, because where they had done all that surgery and stuff, they didn't want any inflammation or anything in my heart to cause it to screw up. They just put an artificial valve and 2 patches on my heart. So I had to go through weeks of that, and I had to sit in a critical care hospital. It's actually, they ended the emergency whatever act it was in Kentucky for during the pandemic. They ended it on June 1st of that year. And I was I didn't get out of the hospital till June 15th. The day that ended, Medicaid tried to kick me out of the hospital. They tried, and the hospital appealed it and everything, and I ended up staying and finishing my drugs. But yeah, Kentucky did a lot of great things during that to help people. But as soon as it ended, they tried to gank them away as quick as possible.
Well, they're still they're still giving my daughter's, she graduated. She's, it's till 19, but she's still getting, last month, she got some of her EBT, out of school money, Yeah. They're still putting that on that white card. Where they had the out of school money for the EBT.
The extra. Yeah, there. We didn't get any of that, but
you didn't get none. You should have got some. Well, because have you checked your white card?
I don't even have one of those. I've got an EBT card because I get food stamps.
Okay, this would be the one for your boy at school. Oh, he just started school.
If you already have it, they didn't give you a different card anyway. But or at least they didn't here.
Yeah, they did.
They just added it to your account. But
they're supposed to give you a white card, a white one.
No, there was a period of time where we did get the extra thing for the lunches over the summer, and they just added it to our other card. But whenever my kid was too young for us to get all those benefits, though, because he wasn't of school age yet. He hadn't started school. Now that he started school, it's different. Now my other son, Jace, there's some complications there of why we didn't get that. It's because I don't actually have legal custody of him. That's a whole other story. Laura's parents actually have custody of him, and we all live here together. But real quick, Jester Lord of Fools, I love how when it's drugs, which are often brought to treat conditions, JD wants to talk criminalization. But when it's guns, he wants to talk healthcare. That is an excellent point, Jester, and thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I truly appreciate that. But you're exactly right. Yeah. He wants to, no matter what it is, he wants to scapegoat some other thing and then say it's Kamala. Justin. He says, but Jester, it's all those immigrant crossings that don't have 2 cents, but tens of thousands of drugs strapped to the leg that are causing the drug run. Yeah, I know. I feel the sarcasm, Justin. I get you.
Our drug problem in the United States is opiates, which are manufactured by our most of it's manufactured by our pharmaceutical companies.
Oh yeah, everybody I know, and my story myself, how I got on drugs wasn't going and buying smack off the cartel. It was I went to the doctor and they wrote me Percocets for everything. When I was 18 years old, I was getting 60 Perc 10s every 10 days for carpal tunnel, which I didn't even have. And you could just get, for the longest time, I had boxes of drugs coming to my front door from Canada. We ordered boxes of Loracets and Xanax and stuff from Canada.
I've ordered
Thought they shut down my-
Viagra. No.
Well, I tried that, but I kept knocking everything over in the house, so I had to quit. Justin said, I get my weed from the store on the corner, and the next block there is a shroom store. Yeah, well, we won't get into that, but I don't go anywhere for mine usually.
Pricing transparency. Think about healthcare.
All right, let's get to abortion here.
Its own regulatory burden and healthcare costs. Donald Trump could have destroyed the program. Instead, he worked in a bipartisan way to ensure.
Let's go through that little claim right there.
It'll be there. But
okay,
look, this issue, and when Donald Trump.
Okay, Donald Trump tried to destroy Obamacare
because he did it
and
successfully the first time.
Governor?
John McCain.
Right, here's where being an old guy gives you some history.
This is what John McCain
I was there.
Did this.
At the...
Yeah, about the Affordable Care Act. Yeah.
That's why it wasn't destroyed. That's why it wasn't no bipartisan bullshit. It was the fact that John McCain killed his bill.
Donald Trump has tried to, he's wanted to repeal and replace Obama. That's what he said the whole time. For years now, and we're going on what, like 10, 11 years now, and Trump has came up with no plan. In the last debate, they made a fool of him because they pushed him on it. So what is your plan? Well, I have concepts of a plan. What the fuck does that even mean, idiot? Like, you have no plan. Just say it. Donald Trump has no plan for health care. And they want to sit and whine and bitch and cry about Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act, but they have no plan. They have no suggestion to fix it. Anything that they want to try and do makes it worse because they don't want to give anything to anybody unless you're a billionaire.
Yeah, and Trump hates Obamacare because it's called Obamacare. Because his main issue with it is because it's attached to Obama, and he hates Obama because Obama
Trump. The only thing he sees there
is humiliated him.
The only thing that Trump cares about there is he sees it called Obamacare, and he's like, no, it could be called Trump Care, and that's what he gives a shit about. Is he's a narcissist. He just wants his name on it. He hates Obama, and he wants to see his name on it, like everything else.
Yeah, he's hated it just simply because of the Obama, since that dinner at the press dinner or whatever, when he got
that was funny shit.
Yeah, when Obama just roasted him the whole time,
burned the shit out of him.
But that's why he ran for president, probably. I mean,
dude, everybody around him was laughing and shit, and he just sat there,
they were laughing at him.
Everybody was laughing at him. But you know what? Like,
that's why we gave him for president, though.
People take, and we should take Trump serious because he does have power to affect these things now as the head of the Republican Party. But we should be laughing at Trump too. Like, you have to stop and laugh at the stupid thing. I mean, he talks about Hannibal Lecter and sharks and boats and just all these stupid fucking things.
They're
he says
eating
all
the
time.
pets.
Yeah, people are eating pets.
The people
he
that
deserves
live there
to be laughed at. We should be laughing at him ever since then. It was funny when Trump was just a failed business owner who had a TV show like that. They said those things, but then you give somebody like that actual power, and he just acts like the bully that he is. He wants to, whatever, at whatever cost, it doesn't matter.
Creation of the ACA. And the reason it was so important is I come from a major healthcare state, home of the Mayo Clinic, home to Medical Alley. 3M, Medtronic, all of those. We understand healthcare. It's why we're ranked first on affordability and accessibility and quality of healthcare. And ACA. He signed on to a lawsuit to repeal the ACA, but lost at the Supreme Court. And he would have repealed the ACA had it not been for the courage of John McCain to save that bill. Now, fast forward, what that means to you is you lose your pre-existing conditions. If you're sitting at home and you got asthma, too bad. If you're a woman, probably not. Broke your foot during football, might kick you out. Your kids get kicked out when they're 26. Kamala Harris negotiated drug prices for the first time with Medicare. We have 10 drugs that will come online, the most common ones that'll be there. But look, this issue, and when Donald Trump said, I've got a concept of a plan, it cracked me up as a fourth grade teacher because my kids would have never given me that. But what Senator Vance just explained might be worse than a concept, because what he explained is pre-Obamacare. And I'll make this as simple as possible because I have done this for a long time. What they're saying is, if you're healthy, why should you be paying more? So what they're going to do is let insurance companies pick who they insure, because guess what happens? You pay your premium, it's not much. They figure they're not going to have to pay out to you. But those of you a little older, gray, got cancer, you're going to get kicked out of it. That's why the system didn't work. Kamala Harris will protect and enhance the ACA.
Governor, thank you. Senator, you have not yet explained how you would protect people with pre-existing conditions or laid out that.
That's going to be hard to do without a plan. Sorry.
Plan.
His face.
Well, look, we currently have laws and regulations in place right now that protect people with pre-existing conditions. We want to keep those regulations in place, but we also want to make the health insurance market.
Yeah, dumbass. It's what we have. It's the thing you're trying to get rid of.
And they want to get rid of it.
You're not.
Yeah,
serious.
so
Marketplace function a little bit better. Now, what Governor Walz just said is actually not true. A lot of what happened, and the reason that Obamacare was crushing under its own weight, is that a lot of young and healthy people were leaving the exchanges. Donald Trump actually helped address that problem, and he did so in a way that preserved people's access to coverage who had pre-existing conditions. But again, something that these guys do is they make a lot.
He is so full of shit. That is not true.
I mean, Donald Trump tried to overturn Obamacare, and John McCain was the vote that killed it. That was it. That's it. That's it. That's
Yes. And it was because of the pre-existing conditions thing. That's why that was everybody's big problem, is because people with pre-existing conditions were going to lose their care. And that was the thing that Trump couldn't get around, because the Supreme Court ruled that he couldn't do that shit. So,
and here's what gets me is they don't lie. I mean, they don't even keep this a secret. Trump has said every time he wants to overturn it, he wants to replace it. He has said that every single time, and every budget proposal that he made while he was president was cuts in Social Security. But you can tell the Republican voters that he wants to cut Social Security, and they're like, "No, they don't."
Look at the look on this asshole's face.
Damn, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Look at the look on JD's face. I bet he looks like that when he walks into an IKEA.
He's thinking about couch right now.
Yeah, yeah. He's dreaming of
that was for Maya.
Of a leather sofa, sectional, big, strong sectional.
A lot of claims about if Donald Trump becomes president, all of these terrible consequences are going to ensue. But in reality, Donald Trump was president. Inflation was low. Take-home pay was higher. And he saved the very program from a Democratic administration that was collapsing and would have collapsed absent his leadership. He did his job, which is govern.
What the fuck are you talking about? Donald Trump was the worst president in American history.
He said that was bipartisan. It's because John McCain, who was a Republican, killed his plan. He killed his plan to kill Obamacare. He's just making shit up.
His argument, his argument for another Trump presidency is that Donald Trump was president and he did a great job. Well, let's see how great he did. Let's see. Jobs, he lost 9 million jobs. Unemployment, the highest since the Depression. The pandemic,
he's ranked the worst president. by
Yes,
like
he's the worst.
100
He is
historians.
objectively the worst president in history.
100
Not my opinion.
historians.
It's a fact. Yes, it is a
Yes.
fact. Donald Trump was voted the worst president in American history. And I
Yes.
mean, you really got to be a doozy to do that. I mean, we had fucking Nixon, like Grover Cleveland.
Actually, Nixon.
Like, we had
Nixon was a good president. Nixon did most of the thing of the
well, other than the
EPA.
corruption.
Well, I know, but
Yeah.
actually, Nixon is the one that created the Environmental Protection Agency and several other, I mean, big deals that were, you know, what I mean,
Right.
were thanks to Nixon.
He actually did accomplish some things, unlike Trump, who accomplished exactly nothing other than cutting taxes for billionaires. He did set a record though, didn't he? He had the most debt for one president ever with $8.3 trillion. Yay!
He lost more jobs. Only 2 presidents have ever left office with less jobs than when they started.
And Donald Trump was more than
him and Herbert Hoover was the other
Herbert Hoover, yeah, that's the other one. Yeah. It's Donald Trump. I can't believe he wants to say Donald Trump was president and all these things were great. There was nothing great about Donald Trump's presidency. I can't believe Walls didn't bust out laughing when he said that. I would have been like, are you fucking kidding me?
There's no correlation is not causation.
Didn't Nixon set up Social Security and stuff too? Wasn't Social Security under Nixon, or was that Reagan? It was Nixon.
No, Social Security was under Eisenhower.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I'm not a historian.
Reagan got rid of everything. Reagan started that trickle down economic stuff, and he got rid of the fairness and the fairness doctrine, you know, and so that they don't, you know, people broadcasting news agencies are not required to tell the truth anymore to keep their license. That's why Fox News can broadcast and you know, lie, because there is no thing that requires for them to get their license for them to be truthful. He also sold ammunition and guns to Iran too, and negotiated with Iran to keep the hostages who were held by the Iranian government till after the election so he could defeat Jimmy Carter. Are you froze, Joe? Hello? Hello, Joe. I need a flag. Ember, I need a pirate flag. Hello, everybody. I'm just a little me. I can't take over. I don't know how to get on here in the main screen, but we lost Joe. Hopefully he didn't have that heart attack. He just froze. Let's see who's here. Aunt Jur. Hello, Aunt Jur. Ember. Yahooligan. Good to see you. And Jester, Lord of Fools. Mahayanis Mind. I think we think alike, a lot alike. Maya, the beautiful Maya, the goddess Maya. John Level, Beamsy. I know there's more. Deviant, Outcast. Hello, Deviant. It's good to see you. AR. I don't know if we ran off that one person that was Tsunami. Isaac Hunger. Tim Christman. I don't know who that is. Stephanie Frizzell. Jeremiah. No. Okay. I guess we'll talk about, I'm going to talk about the abortion till Joe comes back. Okay. Which Trump has flip-flopped on his abortion stance. You know, he brags about he's the one that overturned. Hey, Stephanie. He's the one that overturned Roe versus Wade. He brags about it. He takes credit for it. He said everybody wanted it, even the Democrats, which is a outright lie. Okay. We wanted it, you know, codified into law is what we wanted, so that they couldn't do what they did, but we didn't get it. And it's put women's health care into chaos, because doctors, every state has their own laws. And so it's like I don't know what that means, a hold distance. I don't know what it's caused it. Like, you know, one state has different laws and other laws. And the doctors are not. The thing about Roe is it had been in place for 50 years. And so doctors were familiar with the law and what was acceptable under the law and where the lines were drawn and everything. And so they were comfortable with performing the abortions that were medically necessary to save women's lives. And they were comfortable, you know what I mean? And we just knew what was going. We knew where the law was. Okay, but now you've got like places like Texas, who wants the death penalty. They're so pro-life that they want the death penalty for women who have abortions. All right, and they're wanting to track people's periods and track this, and you know what I mean, not let you cross state lines to get abortions. And then some places have got 12 weeks, some places have got 6 weeks, some places have got 15 weeks, some places have got up until birth or something like that, because they did that to save the women's lives, so there would be no legal issue if a woman was farther along and had to have an abortion to save her life, then she would still be protected under the law. That's why they wrote those laws. And we know what J.D. Vance's stance is. J.D. Vance said that he did not even believe in abortion for cases of rape. He said that no woman should, or no fetus should be killed because a woman was inconvenienced by being raped. So, no wide stance. I see what you're saying now. Okay, yeah. But so, you know, it's just we know what his stance is, and we know what Trump's is. Well, no, we don't know what Trump's is actually. Trump changes his weekly. He says, "I'm glad to have I'm proud to have overturned Roe," and then he said the 6-week ban was too short a time, and then he came back the next week and said no, he was going to vote for it though, and you know, because he don't care. You know, he's just trying. He's appeasing. And see, he's stuck because he knows that the pro-life position is not the popular.
Yeah, we don't even need this, do we? We can just
position.
talk about this, can't we?
Yeah, he knows that it's not the popular position in the United States. He knows it. So he knows that they are going to lose on this issue if they continue to stick with that, you know, banning abortion thing. He knows that. And so part of him says, I cannot say that because I'm going to lose votes. But then if he comes out and supports abortion, he also is losing votes because he's losing his whole base, which is the Christian, evangelical, pro, whatever, not pro-life. I don't call them pro-life. I call them forced birthers. The forced birther crowd. I mean, they threatened to, when he said that he didn't know what he's going to do about the 6-week ban in Florida, about whether to vote on it. They threatened to stay home and not even come out and vote in this election because of that. And he would lose. So either way, he's losing votes. He knows that. There's no, and so that's why the Democrats have got to hammer home on this position. This is the one position that we need to hammer home on him, because he does not want to give a position because of that.
Yeah. Well, sorry, everyone.
I'm going to tell Justin. Go ahead. Yes, Justin. They do.
Go ahead.
He asked if a baby is born, a baby of rape is born, does the rapist have parental rights? And yes, in some states they do. There's actually one case where the man sued and got parental rights, like shared custody of a child that he sexually assaulted a woman again, and got her pregnant.
So, yes. Sorry, guys, my computer barfed while we were doing that. I don't know. It just, all of a sudden, it started going, and it didn't even blue screen or nothing, just froze up, nothing. And so I had to restart everything and all that. So, but yeah, we don't even need to bring up the abortion part. We can talk about it without them, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, because they say they keep saying that there's that they allowed up to the abortion up to birth.
Yeah.
And they're, in a way, the law, he's misconstruing what the law is for. The law does say that in some states. I don't know. Minnesota may have passed that. I think California passed it. I'm not sure who else. Illinois, maybe. And what it says is that it protects the woman's right to get an abortion, but it's not used for an elective
non-argument. It's a non-argument.
It's a part of the law that was written so that if a woman is later on past viability and she needs an abortion to save her life, that the law cannot come and say, well, it's past time, you can't do it now, because so it allows for the life of the mother.
So here's the thing, though. It's not even happening. 97% of all abortions take place before 21 weeks.
Yeah.
So you're arguing about it's a straw man to begin with, right? It's not even a real thing. It's
but they keep saying it. They keep repeating it.
They keep lying about everything.
And the also,
y'all hooligans sent $2 Canadian to you, so that means you owe me $1, I think.
It's repeated though by these people.
Yeah,
I see it all the time. I see them all the time. They'll say the Democrats want to allow babies to be aborted after birth.
They're aborting babies up into 7th month, 8th month, 9th month, even sometimes after they're born.
After birth.
They're killing babies. That's the argument. And it's bullshit.
And the thing about it is the really thing about it is an abortion is actually termination of a viable pregnancy. So actually, once viability has been reached by the woman, the fetus, if they do anything, it's called a delivery. It's not called an abortion anymore.
The problem with that, though, is that you have lawmakers, you have lawyers trying to write laws to control this, and the way that they word things happens to be very important, because you're telling doctors what they can and can't do and what rights women do and don't have. And whenever you write it all sloppy and stuff, you end up things like this Amber lady in Georgia that ended up dying because she couldn't get care, because the baby had already been the pregnancy had already been ended. It was not viable, but it didn't come out, and so she was septic. But they wouldn't do it because it was related somehow to abortion. And that's the problem with letting people who aren't experts word shit like this.
I do blame Moscow Mitch. And I live in Kentucky, and he's our senator, and yes, I blame him. But Amber, she found out she was pregnant. She had a 6-year-old son. She had just got a new apartment, and she was going to get ready to start school. And she found out she was pregnant with twins. And she thought she just knew she couldn't take care of it. I mean, she wants to go to school. She needs a way to support this baby and 3 kids. I mean, really. So she goes. She can't get an abortion in Georgia. So she drives to, I think, North Carolina. Is that right? North Carolina. I think it's drove to North Carolina. And wherever she drove to another state, and they gave her. She missed her appointment. She had an appointment with an abortion clinic, and she missed it. And so they end up giving her medication abortion. For the medication abortions, they were, it's what they gave her. And I don't know if maybe because it was twins, that maybe that, because, one medicine detaches the fetus from the uterus, and the other, there's 2 medications that you take with a medication abortion. And the second one flushes the fetus from your body. And that's like a DNC sort of. And so that's what it does. Well, that's the one that didn't work, because that's the one that did not flush out. And I don't know if maybe because she had 2 fetuses in there, that there may have been, it may not have been enough, or whatever. But anyway, so she got sick after she got back home and everything. So she's away from the clinic that gave her the medicine. And there's nobody in Georgia that can actually do anything, with her, because they are, I mean, I understand we're doctors, they've went to school all these years and worked to get these, their degrees and everything. And they could be put in prison and lose everything they've ever had just for doing a simple abortion procedure on somebody. And if a lawmaker doesn't like it, and you just depends on what state you're in. But because they don't know what the laws are. They don't know. They're not lawyers. They're doctors.
Here's my big bitch with the whole thing of giving it to the states. Your right to bodily autonomy and to be able to talk with your doctor isn't up to anybody. It should be a right that you're guaranteed. We don't need to give it to anybody. There's nobody else that needs to decide what you can do with your body and what you and your doctor can decide is medically necessary for you. There's no situation where that even means anything. And that was the big argument, is we want to give it to the states. They've wanted to give it to the states and everything else. But we know Project 2025 calls for a national abortion ban.
No, it just calls for restricting it so much that you wouldn't. It doesn't call for a ban. It just calls for restricting it so much that what they're trying to do is they're just trying to make sure there won't be any doctors that can perform the things.
They want to make a registry they want to make a registry of anybody who's pregnant so that they can track that. And if you so they can charge you then if you go and have any kind of care they disagree with. It's a complete invasion of the government getting in between a woman and their doctor, which is just fucking crazy to begin with. I'm not.
Yeah, because there's not a person on this planet that was born with the mandate over anybody else's body. Not the church.
Right.
Not me.
Right.
I don't have a mandate for anybody. Nobody, Mitch McConnell wasn't born with a mandate to control my body. The church wasn't born with a mandate to control my body. No one was. Nobody has the right to tell anybody else what to do with their body. And women do not want to die for other people's religious beliefs. Mike Johnson's religious beliefs are not a reason why women want to die. I mean, that poor girl in Georgia, her mom was there, okay? And her mom said that she grabbed her hand as they were taking her back to surgery because she was still alive when they took her to surgery, and she died in surgery. And she said, "Please, Mama, take care of my baby." I mean, I think she knew she was going to die. And, you know what I mean? And this woman said, you know, if I had known they were just going to leave her there, I would have took her somewhere else. You know, because she said, I loved my daughter. She had family. She was loved. She was a mother. And we would have got her help. But we didn't know that the emergency room was going to leave her just laying there, because they let her just get right at death's door before they would even risk taking her back.
Why can't I not start a poll in the chat?
But here's the good news out of this. There is some good news. The Georgia Supreme Court struck down the Georgia abortion ban after Amber died, of course. But actually, Amber was the reason that the Supreme Court even addressed it, the Georgia Supreme Court. So they have actually struck down that the very law that killed Amber. They have struck it down now since that happened. That was pretty quick, but at least they did it before any more women die. I don't know what they're going to do about that. If they're going to rewrite the law, how they're going to turn out. But the Georgia Supreme Court did strike down that ban last week after Amber's case. It's just sad that she had to be as the sacrifice to get it there.
It wasn't the Supreme Court that struck it down, though.
It was the Alabama. It was the Georgia
Circuit Court judge.
Oh, it's a circuit judge. Yes, it was. All right. Yeah, it was circuit judge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It was.
So it had been up in front of this judge before, and he had said that you can't interfere in the privacy. It's a privacy issue, right? And that went to the Supreme Court, and they said he got it wrong, and he needed to redo his opinion on it. Well, he came back out with it, and still found a way, that says that it's interfering within their right to privacy in the Georgia Constitution.
Yeah, it's causing women to die.
The Supreme Court will again look at it, but yeah, it's causing death. I mean, it's pretty obvious it's a fucking problem.
I mean, here's the thing about letting it go to states. They said let it go to states. Okay, look at Kentucky. Let's take our state. Okay, they want the states to decide, right? Did we get to decide? All we got to vote on was one thing that was going to actually ban abortion. It was actually going to ban abortion into our Constitution. It was going to add an amendment into our Constitution that banned abortion permanently. That was what we voted on. We voted no on it. We did not allow it to go on. And we've never got to vote anything else, though. Do you think we've ever got to vote to pass abortion?
During the stream that ended up resulting in Lupin's channel got shut down after it. I don't know if it was because of what we talked about or not, but it could have been because he was putting out a bunch of medical misinformation crap, and I was correcting him on it. But the one of the things that we ended up talking about is that he was saying, well, let people vote. And yeah, let people vote. That's exactly the issue, because in many states, you can't put propositions like that on the ballot. That's up to the legislature. Only some states allow that. In Kentucky, we had, the trigger laws immediately went into effect. Like, nobody voted for that. So yeah, I agree. Let people vote for it because.
Well, they had it proposed. They as soon as they put the trigger law in, then they proposed for the the midterms. It was on our ballot that we could. That it was an amendment that would ban abortion and put codified into our state constitution to where we could we would have to change the constitution to ever make abortion legal in the state of Kentucky, and it flunked. It failed. The amendment failed, and we've never got to vote anything else, though. We haven't never got to vote to legalize abortion or to allow abortions in certain areas of Kentucky or anything like that. We've never got to vote on that, and we never will get to vote on it because we don't have ballot measures where you get signatures and go around, and then after so long, you have to put after so many signatures, they have to put it on there. We don't have that. I agree, Steph. I'm sick. Look, abortions in Canada are free. Yeah. I mean, they are too. In Netherlands, the Netherlands, they're free, and they have the lowest abortion rate in the world.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to have, if people want to have the conversation about at what stage they're doing abortions and stuff, sure. I mean, even though, like we both pointed out, 97% of them take place before 21 weeks, and that those remaining percentages are mostly medically necessary. So
we had that conversation though. That I mean,
what I'm saying is
that was a conservative court that passed Roe. And they said that they were very deliberate in that decision on putting the line at viability.
Right.
I mean,
right.
And I agree with that. I mean, I agree with that.
All I'm saying is that's a normal conversation to have, but going and just taking rights away from people that has been, considered settled law for 54 years or whatever, like it is just crazy. It's extreme.
They don't want to have a conversation.
Well, I know that many of them don't, and that's why we need to quit electing them into office. When you look at the number of Americans who support bodily autonomy for women and all those things, it's an enormous amount. But then whenever we see who gets voted into office, we vote these extremists in who then want to completely do away with it for religious reasons. And it doesn't reflect what Americans actually think. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I was just saying that's an important conversation, whereas the other one about it's the wrong conversation.
A lot of Americans don't support a woman's right to get an abortion, but they also don't support the government making laws against it.
Yeah,
that's where I mean that is the argument that affects that actually that is the argument that has more influence on conservatives and the free people or whatever, is the actual government becoming involved in it because they don't like that. I've told some of my conservative friends, if the government can make a law to prevent me from getting an abortion, they can also make me get an abortion. You are handing over the reproductive rights of your daughters and your granddaughters to the United States government that you don't trust.
Yeah. And that shouldn't even be a thing that you can do. There shouldn't even be a way that there should be no path for that. For all those years that Roe v. Wade stood as Supreme Court precedent, we really should have tried to codify it then, and we didn't. But I mean, we can't. Obviously, the past is the past, and it's already happened, right? I mean, but we didn't expect there to be these authoritarian leaders and extreme right Republicans that then wanted to just completely take rights away from women. Nobody imagined that they were going to do that, and I think there's an important lesson to be learned there. Oh no, there were people that pushed for it the whole time. People have pushed for it the whole time. I agree.
There was people screaming about it. Every conservative that was put on the court, there were people screaming, women screaming about it. I mean,
yeah.
There was always the people going, "Oh, quit over, stop freaking out, stop being over dramatic. They're not going to overturn that. They said they wouldn't," and blah 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 blah.
Democrats had the opportunity to do it multiple times and didn't. That's what I'm saying.
Obama actually wrote a book after he left office and apologized to the American women because he missed the opportunity to do it, because he was so focused on getting Obamacare through that he did not put he just knew that he would never get because he had only 2 years to get that through before the midterms or whatever. And because that was the only time he had the supermajority in the House and the Senate was the first term. the first 2 years of his term, his first term.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up on that one, Robin. I think the only other thing that we missed in the debate was where he asked, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? And JD dodges and won't answer the question and says, I want to talk about the future. And that's obviously still a huge problem. But I think we covered a lot of the important stuff in it and things. And I'm glad that everybody joined us to take part in the conversation. And whether you agree or not, I respect your position, and we can talk about it if you want. Anybody who would like to come on a show and talk to us, or come on and if you disagree, you can. If you agree, you can come on too. I mean, if you want to come on and join us and talk about current political issues and stuff going on, send me an email at KentuckyAtheist@gmail.com, and we'll get you on here and talk about it. If you don't want to come on the show, you can still email me if you want to have some kind of conversation. I'm willing to talk to about anybody who's willing to have honest conversations. We did simulcast this over on Robin's channel this evening. So everybody over there in Robin's channel, thank you so much for watching and stuff. I really appreciate it. Everybody over here, I think everybody's subscribed to you. But if you're not, go over and subscribe to Robin real quick. She's linked in the title and in the description. I would really appreciate it. And if you're not a subscriber here, maybe think about that. So you got anything else you want to get into before we close it down, Robin?
No, just thanks everybody for coming. If you can, join Joe's Patreon. So he can help to contribute to his flood recovery, his cleanup.
Yeah, well,
creationist crybaby.
Creationist crybaby.
You know who that is?
That's Big Bad Mama, isn't it?
That's what I wasn't gonna say that loud, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well,
I know that Big Bad Mama's made a couple videos with that title as why, or that in the title is why I picked up on it. But and I think I've seen on something Kent Hovind was doing. I think
somebody's been trolling. That's why he's on that account. He's been trolling somebody. Who are you trolling, Big Bad Mama? Oh, okay. Who are you trolling? You mean not trolling you on that account?
Big Bad Mama's joined us on here a couple times. He was a lot of fun. They had a great time. Talked about, a lot of important stuff. So I just, I'm not out like searching for people to come on because I don't want to get people on here that want to have these conversations. When it comes down to this kind of thing, I would rather you want to come talk about it. Trolling. I had a feeling that's what it was because I knew that there was some changes in what went on and stuff. So I'd seen AJ's Discord and
I do want everybody to go. If you haven't heard yet or seen it or whatever, go. You can go to. I watched on Dead Domain. About Pastor Steven Anderson.
I went and watched the source material.
He's been uncovered for abusing his wife and his children, and his wife was abusing the children. And if you watched the sermon, okay, like Dead Domain is one of the ones that did the interview, one of the interviews of him and of the girl. And Pastor Stephen had a sermon on her last Sunday or whatever. And you should listen to this man preach. It is ridiculous. I mean, he is so stupid, and he like gets them laughing and stuff. They're laughing whenever he makes fun of his kids for saying that they were abused and stuff. The congregation's laughing. There are some sick people, very sick people.
Yeah. I covered a little piece of Steven Anderson a long time ago in one of the Scum of the Earth videos, and I didn't include that much of Steven Anderson because he was just like, to actually put on screen the things that I didn't even want to put it on screen. So I had to find the toned down versions of stuff to put down and talk about what a piece of shit he is. But yeah, I went and watched. I didn't go watch whatever on Dead Domain. I went and watched the source material for all that and stuff after you told me about it. So, but yeah, because I forgot what you told me actually. Yeah, I did go check that out and stuff, and it's pretty crazy stuff, ain't it? Like it's really dark. Like caution, it may be triggering to some people the story because it's that bad.
It says, oh really? Really? It says that YouTube blocked 2 of his Anderson videos.
I'm not surprised. Anderson, I mean, he just promotes so much hate that I think that he was kicked off YouTube multiple times, and that's probably why, is because the algorithm's seeing it and thinking it's one of his
he was
videos.
banned. But they let, like I said, that Dead Domain's got a big his sermon on there. You know, because he's talking about Dead Domain. Dead Domain's trans, I think. So I don't know. I don't even remember what pronouns they use. So I'm gonna use they. Yeah.
Well, Telltale just covered Anderson the other day about this same story. So
yeah.
Owen.
Dead Domain's got several videos on it. They've got the one where they interviewed the girl, and then they've got one where they showed that sermon the other day, and there's like 2 or 3 more. So Dead Domain actually too, I think, and Aunt Jar can tell me, or Ember can. Jordan, they okay. Dead Domain is actually the one that went undercover and infiltrated the church and was attending church or going, and was and went and infiltrated the church.
Oh, it may have been then, man, because whoever it was, because the kid actually spoke out about it. That's what I seen. It wasn't somebody covering it. It was the actual video of whenever that happened. So it may have been Dead Domain that did it. Yeah, my bad. I just know I didn't go watch a commentary video about it, is what I'm saying. I was watching a video that just talked about what happened. I don't remember what it was. I just went and looked it up. So it may have been something to do with Dead Domain. So yeah, I may have said wrong there, Aunt Jer. Sorry.
Dead Domain is an investigative reporter, is what they are. That's what they call their, like they see themselves as an investigative reporter.
This was put on almost like a news report. So that's why I thought it was like, I thought it had been reported widely somewhere else and then picked up, and Dead Domain was just doing a covering it. I didn't know that other part that you said. So it may have been from the
they actually interviewed the girl, the oldest girl, the one that says it's missing.
That's what I seen. So,
and the reason why they knew Dead Domain was because Dead Domain had infiltrated their church in that investigation earlier on.
But that's not who did the interview with the girl, is it?
Dead Domain did, yeah, but they didn't talk much. They just let her talk. They just were sitting there kind of asking.
That's why I was asking, because I thought she put it out there. That's why I said the source material. I thought the daughter was the one that put it out there, not Dead Domain.
Dead Domain did that, but she didn't. But they didn't. Dead Domain didn't speak much. They just they asked a few questions. They kind of just let the kid tell the story.
I see. Well, yeah. It looks like Jared posted a link there to what the sermon Robin was talking about, and the Dead Domain is also linked up there by Aunt Jared. It's this is Dead Domain, and here's the other one. So yeah, go check that out for sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse things there. I was mistaken, I guess. All right. Well, thank you so much, Robin.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Thanks, Robin, for coming, and I can't get back to the chat. for coming and talking to me and putting up with my disagreement about nuclear power.
Well, yeah.
But we'll be back next Thursday to do it again. Everybody, thank you so much for coming. I scrolled the members across the screen there. I appreciate my members. I appreciate my Patreon people. Thank you so much for helping out. And if you're not one of those and you know, you see a little interest in it or whatever, maybe like the video and subscribe. If you don't like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs down. That'd be awesome too. And thanks so much for everybody in the chat and stuff. I love all you guys so much. Thanks for all your support and everything. And Robin, you too. Have a great one, guys. Catch you later.